Tunzel 11 versus the Transsexual Empire on Berg. So, Berg, very different map from this one, that's for sure, and perhaps one of my favourite maps on the ladder.
Really, you prefer Berg?
I do love Berg. It's a toss between Berg and Forge, really. I think for my favourite, but I love the opportunity that Berg gives you. It's always felt like, even when Forge feels more. I used to feel more forced into a particular meta on Forge before the Grenadier buffs, at least. Berg seemed to open up opportunities. You could go tank, you could try and mass docks on that map. Air had its place, but it didn't dominate. I really like the balance that map gives.
Personally, I'm a Forge person. It's always just been a lot more fun for me when I have tanks and there's just a bunch of docks that, try and run around and skirt around. Then you get a nice little contain, and you can just see the trade of like docks getting slaughtered by tanks. It's just such a gratifying feeling, especially when you always go slow push like me.
I just feel that I've seen so many different Berg played in so many different ways that it is just a personal favourite of mine. But I think we're going to get into this one pretty quickly. Let's just get this launched, and then we will be spectating between Tunzel and the Transsexual Empire. So, how do you think this one's going to go? Who are you favouring for this?
Well, since I've seen Tunzel a lot on my stream, I'm going to root for him. I mean, I'm just going to go with streamers biased here. Skill-wise, I really haven't seen Transsexual Empire play that much, to be honest. So, I'm going to be very kind of open and just see how this goes.
Well, I have to say, I think Tunzel, perhaps a slightly stronger player. Both of them been out tournaments before. We've seen Tunzel in Super Commander weeklies. We've seen the Transsexual Empire over in the Evil Twins qualifiers. Both of them got very similar records. They unfortunately found themselves getting knocked out in second rounds of these tournaments. But I think it could be quite close. I think it's going to be quite a tight match. That very, very equal players. Maybe I might give Tunzel 11 the edge, but it's hard to say.
I was going to say, yeah, I haven't seen Transsexual Empire play, so I'm going to give Tunzel the edge, but if I see something that I like from Transsexual Empire, I'm going to go straight to her. I don't know how this is going to play out, but going to be open-minded for this one. Really curious to see how this will play.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if we're going to see docks, we're going to see bolos, or perhaps I see a lot of grenadiers. They're becoming very favoured, and here with the crevasses and the tendency as well to see commander pushes around this spot here. It's quite common. I've seen some of the higher end games, you see commanders push out here, wall up, face off, and I think that will favour grenadier play as well.
I was going to say very much so. If it goes down to even on a giant planet, a combox match, then yeah, grenadiers. But especially for this early to mid game, I could definitely see docks and maybe even some airplay become a lot more heavily used.
Well, we're seeing, let's have a look. We're seeing docks opening and, we're seeing a bot opening and a bot opening, so no big surprises so far.
The docks begin.
Yes, a lot of opportunities for raiding early on. I suspect we'll see a couple of fabbers pop out first and then some docks to go scouting, raiding, and start as well, possibly trying to own the space around the back of
That's a boom bot.
Well, I'm not sure why that's coming out.
Misclick.
Well, it's maybe Tunzel's using it for scouting. He said, as you see here, the vision radius is pitiful. Unless he thinks he can capture, unless he thinks there's a fabber that he knows where it's going to go, and he can pick.
Oh no! It's so when the fabric. Oh wait, no, hang on. It's going to the basement. I was going to say maybe it's going to be for when the fabricator goes to the other side of to expand. There's the boom bot just waiting, or it's going to.
Yeah, I think he's going to put it there. He's going to put it there so that when the fabber comes around, it's just skirting outside of a range. Ooh.
This is a very well calculated play here from Tunzel.
I think she saw it. The docks is going out there.
Yeah, I mean, docks versus boombot. I mean, of course you're going to see.
Well, the boombot only just went into Transsexual Empire's vision as well. It was very close. Almost didn't get spotted. Unfortunately, just came the wrong side of that little I don't know, ice block. Unfortunately.
Personally, though, I wasn't a big fan of that decision. I'm more of the kind of Belodia style of where you'll pick up, combat Fabro in a Pelican, fly over, and then just build a couple mines on the mill extractors. So much more annoying, so much harder to kind of get rid of. And while I think Tunzel's intentions were really funny and very cheeky, maybe it could have been utilized much better.
Yeah,
So very,
I don't
very
think.
good though out of Transsexual Empire to find that boom bot.
Yeah, I
A
don't
lot
think
of
that's not the way. That's not the way I've gone. I think a Dox is generally going to be better as well because it can kill. It can kill the fabric. It can kill the second fabric if two of them turn up. It could just generally be more flexible and continue to annoy. Whereas the boombot blows up and then that's great, but then it can't do anything else. And indeed, that Dox might be able to survive against one Dox coming to kill it with just a little bit of micro.
A lot of scouting though coming out of here from Tunsil. I think that was like 4 scout planes just kind of moving around trying to figure out where the units are. And I think this extra scout plane is going to see that there are quite a few docks here moving in. Now, it looks like Tunsil's kind of answer to this is tank play, so we might be seeing some tanks starting to move out here to just try and close up and just kind of secure his actual base. These bombers, though, making the right choice here, starting to move in towards these docks. They're going to start moving in. Does he have the micro to do it? The bomber's going to get a really big connection, cutting off at least half of them, sending them straight to death. Another bomber swipe's going to do it, but the anti-air from the docks is absolutely on fire, killing off the bomber and the anti-air, just cleaning everything up.
That was very unfortunate there for Tunzel, that bomber stopping at just the wrong point. Really needs to be micro just a little bit more so it swings around outside the range of the docks, which is really the only point where it's vulnerable. Should have been able to take them all out, just unfortunate. But they're going to get picked off there by the tanks, and I don't think any of these raiding forces are going to make it through.
I was going to say, I was going to be really concerned if that Bolo didn't kill off those docks and they actually got a metal extractor. That probably would have been worth all of their lives to begin with. But looks like it just didn't pay off. Another bomber and anti-air here, though, moving out for Tunsil.
Some very divergent styles here. We're seeing the Transsexual Empire go for, well, finally transitioning into vehicles, but a lot of bot factories early on here, whereas much quicker transition to vehicles for Tunzel. And I think I prefer Tunzel's approach here. I think if you're going to go docks on here and you go for more than one, then you've really just got to commit to it. You've got to go hard, aggressive, early, and just go all docks and try and get a fast win. Transitioning into vehicles later and having more docks factories is going to put you at a disadvantage unless you can make these grenadiers pay off.
Agreed. Some more docks trying to move out here, and they're starting to just have a little bit of a dance party on the other side of the base. This one dock, though, out of Tunsil, catching these 2 fabricators, like you said, that was a fantastic choice. Send 1 docks over, and what are you going to do about it? You have to send your units all the way around, and by the time they've done that, the bot has quite literally killed off all the metal extractors, and now even the 2 in the base of the Transsexual Empire. So Tunsil finding some very good connections here with these raiding units.
No, absolutely, doing very well. Really, just taking out economy that should belong to Transsexual Empire, and she's not managed to hold on to it at all. And unfortunately, she's bringing her grenadiers back to counter that threat. Oh, actually, no, my bad. I think. Oh, I thought that she was going to hide behind that hill to take out this incoming force, but it does look like she's going to go out and meet it. But I think actually hiding behind that hill might be a very good decision.
Well, I mean, go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say, it's very much looking like all Tunzel right now, starting to take an economy lead there, very even in units, but it's starting to look in control of the map, and the Transsexual Empire very reactive right now.
I was going to say, it's going to really depend on this Grenadier fight, and yeah, this is going to be, if this is any indication to how this is going to play out, definitely favoring Tunsil's favor, or kind of style here. Though Transsexual Empire had greater units, there was no kiting with those Grenadiers. The Grenadiers having much larger range, vision, and actual damage if they do get the connection on those bolos. She's going to start moving out here, and it's going to get greeted by another army of tanks, and if Tunsil can micro his tanks, you know, just slightly so that they're not taking every single Grenadier shot, but, you know, just the occasional one. This is going to go heavily. Oh, but this bomber. Oh, but does it see... It's starting, but that was a horrible connection. Don't know why he didn't try and fly over that army. And there's the connection I was looking for. These Grenadiers getting absolutely murdered here by this one bomber and a few tanks.
No, absolutely. A terrible loss there for Transsexual Empire, but a significant number of units just fell without good air cover. And actually, in fact, where is her air force? I do not... Has they all been lost? Has she only gone for bombers? Because they're all flying around the back, unfortunately, guarding these docks, which is a rather poor decision. Really need to be getting at it. Just Tunsil using the air force better. Airfab is about to go down. Probably going to lose those docks if he sees that he should move his bomber in as well, and pressuring the base.
Transsexual Empire making a push though. Some anti-air though, interestingly enough, out of Tunsil here. These docks sort of moving around. Just kind of getting really indecisive here. These Grenadiers are going to just take their time and just slaughtering them, and this will be what I thought should be an easy kill-off here for Tunsil. Is actually going to go quite quickly into Transsexual Empire's favor here. And though she isn't playing what I would say is probably her best or her form, this is definitely starting to work in her favor, just because of the Tunsil needs to start kind of pushing out. He needs to see that these tank battles that he's taking are going in his favor. But as we saw last match with Wandable, you need to be aggressive. You can't just kind of wait around until you have a 10-1 odds in your favor, you know?
No, I think you're right. There should have been an easy win for Tunsil there. Perhaps a little too indecisive with the docks. Then sort of let them get split up into two groups. And the Transactional Empire, she did a much better job there of actually microing her units and keeping the Grenadiers out of range. But on the other side, massive tanks coming in from Tunsil here. Nothing to stop it. We actually see both players sort of choosing a side. Transactional Empire going on one side, Tunsil pushing hard on the other.
No, I don't think this will be a base trade. Never mind. I was going to say we might just see a one-hit, one-kill from both players here, but it looks like the bombers from Tunsil will start cleaning this up, and there's plenty of units to kind of stall that off. So Tunsil needs to move these units. I don't know why they're sitting here having tea, but they shouldn't be doing that. They really need to start moving if he wants to try and trade out with these units very effectively. And the problem is, well, Transactional Empire's got the units here. Yeah, he needs to move.
I think Tunsil was probably microing that bomber there, just overseeing its runs. But now it's down, and yep, not surprising. Now after that bomber's gone away. Oh, he's reinforcing his units, but he's got to be careful because the Transactional Empire coming out with Grenadiers here. If she's alert, she could pull them back. No, they're going to run straight into those tanks. They should be using their range. Even an attack move would be better there because then we can use the range, take out some of those tanks, and Tunsil's starting to look strong on both flanks now.
He is, and actually as he's doing that, if we look at the backside, the docks did find the 6 metal extractors of Transactional Empires, and I don't think she actually has any bombers in her air force. I think it's just completely anti-air. So a little bit of patience here, and Tunsil is definitely going to kill all those off. Yes, I do see the bot factory really like that decision. It's kind of like in the middle of nowhere, but just the fact that it's there going to give him so much map control, though these docks might actually be able to clean it up very slowly, though.
It's quite a nice position for it. It's out there so he can keep raiding, stop the Transactional Empire from expanding out too cheekily. And although Transactional Empire ahead in terms of eco right now, Force is getting crushed by this Bowler army, and I think she's suffered a few too many losses to bombers.
That Uber shot. What was that? I don't know. It looks like this commander is going to clean up all these units, taking most of the damage anyway, so she's only going to lose about 2 metal extractors and a few units, which, I mean, obviously in a numbers game that's really important, but it is something that she can level out of, and hello there. Looks like the anti-air, I guess, is deciding to become a turret today. That's new.
Oh, we're seeing the old shoot the ground trick, eh? Yeah, if you attack to do a force attack with and get the turrets just right, you can actually get to shoot the ground. You can't target the units, but if there's any units there, it will hit them. Yeah,
it's just like with the submarine bug or the torpedo bug for the commander, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those little cheeky tricks that you can pull off. But in this case, is it worth the time and attention it's going to take you to do it? I'm not sure if that turret will then retarget once it's given that force attack.
I was going to say that seems like a bit of an issue now, because it's not going to kill off this air. That's now going to fly actually straight into more anti-air. So I guess it worked.
Well, it's the Transactional Empire having real problems holding her base though. But these tanks not perhaps attacking the most efficient way. The first attack, for example, just came in literal single file, get themselves killed off far too easily. I think if the Transactional Empire perhaps plays a more defensive strat, especially with these Grenadiers, it should be using the terrain better to her advantage. Instead of flooding out the base to attack these tanks, hide behind these ice mountains and fire over them, for goodness sake, and just kill off as many tanks as you can before you have to fight.
From what I've seen, especially with Grenadiers, their kiting potential is absolutely fantastic, especially if there's some room for them to walk around and kind of do a little bit of a jig. But I mean, just going aggressive with Grenadiers is, I mean, it's just as hard as trying to attack something with a wall. It just doesn't work. You need to use them as more of a slowly let them come back to you, slowly whittle them down, and then, you know, let your tanks come in and then clean them up. They're a very powerful defensive unit, especially if you know what you're doing with them, but going aggressive like this, I really don't like this decision from her.
Yeah, they're not the most effective attackers. Their Grenadiers are have very specific uses. They can kite nicely. They can be good on the defensive. Got great range. But the second they get out in the open, they die so easily. It's a one shot from a tank, and that's a Grenadier dead. And Transactional Empire, unfortunately, running into a corner with their tanks. That's probably not the best position for them. Should be backing off. But yes, and we're going to see that once again Tunzel pushing in. Transexual Empire making a push on the other side, but I think that's going to run to that force, not make any progress. She's slowly starting to get worn down. It looks like Tunzel just beginning to take it. Isn't rebuilding as well as he could, and Transexual Empire has taken out that bot proxy base, but just feels like she's having to react to what Tunzel's doing, and he's slowly taking control of this game.
He is slowly taking control of this game, I do agree. But economically, though, I think this is actually the first time at 13 minutes that we have seen a final break in who's economically ahead. I think I was looking at the economy bar here, and for probably the past 10 minutes, they've just been absolutely identical. One would get ahead for like maybe a minute and a half, and then the other would just kind of jump right back there. I mean, I was looking at 110 to 110 for probably a good 4 to 5 minutes until Tunzel killed off the 6 metal extractors, started to reclaim them, then Transsexual Empire came in, killed those off, so Transsexual Empire economically ahead, but this might be just kind of not enough. She definitely needs to get some of those units out and really start using that economy to her advantage. I would like to see her not build some more factories, though. Obviously, adding more strain to already strained economy is probably what she doesn't need to be doing. Maybe wall up a little bit on one of these sides and then just send all of her units to the opposite side. Leave the commander on the side she decides to turtle up on and just let that do as is, and then see what she can do with all the units that she is sending through one side.
Well, I see both commanders like to do that thing that they do, where they're advancing towards the centre now to claim that ground. I think we're seeing Transsexual Empire suffer, though, from her 3-bot opening, where she's now got all these extra grenadiers, and they're really not paying off for her against the larger tank forces that Tunzel's sending out, and we're seeing that those tank forces are trading better. And she hasn't managed to find a use for those grenadiers or those docks in this wider army composition, slowly getting driven back inside her base. On the other hand, Tunzel right now, absolutely no fabbers whatsoever, so really the Transsexual Empire has to find a way to just expand out there and just win the economy again. Just hold what she's got now, and then just expand as quickly as she can, because in terms of raiding and expansion, she's in a much better position than Tunzel, and I think that's where she can turn this around.
Agreed. She does have these 2 air fabricators on the other side of her base, though, starting to expand, and I think Tunzel might be kind of tunnel vision here. He doesn't seem to really be thinking about how he can really win the rest of the map. He's thinking, I need to kill her now, I need to get everything done before, you know, that breakaway where there's all these units and suddenly you're just kind of sweating. The problem with that mentality is that's kind of how it happens. If Transsexual Empire can just survive probably another 4 to 5 minutes, let this expansion happen, it will be in such a great position. It's already 75 metal versus 89 in her favor, and this commander heavily exposed, but as long as she backs up, turtles a little bit, she's going to be in a great position.
We're seeing the boom bots starting to get built up behind Tunzel there. I think he's seen that her commander's vulnerable. He's being very cautious with this approach to the late start. I thought he was just going to rush her commander. He had his force behind him. His commander's got more health. I think he could do some great damage there. And Transsexual Empire's going to have to be very careful, because that commander does look dangerously exposed.
As long as she can keep that commander alive, obviously she's going to be fine. The 6 metal extractors that have just been kind of going back and forth in between the 2 players is now starting to get rebuilt by Transsexual Empire, so she'll be in a very commanding position as long as I think she can hold off this push specifically. Obviously they've continued to trade at the top, but that really hasn't gone anywhere. It's just very wishy-washy. And that was a really bad decision for Transsexual Empire to move out with those grenadiers. She needs them to stay alive, especially with all these units and a fully healthy commander to start walking towards her. I mean, simply put, you can right-click with that commander, and as long as they continue to just keep shooting at each other, health-wise, Tunzel will win.
Yeah, that was really the time to put the walls up and to hide behind the walls and use the defensive position. And walls going up now, but it's looking pretty late in the day for doing that. And with grenadiers there, you can't hide behind your factories like you could if it was an all tank force. Looking at a lot of trouble here, down to 20% health. Going to have to engage.
She needs to move forward to fire the Uber shot to clean that up, but they're going to die.
Yeah, it needs to be making use of that Uber cannon, but the Transsexual Empire's energy is crippled right now, so perhaps she can't fire the Uber cannon.
Oh, but she gets away. These grenadiers are going to try and move him, but they have no vision. I was
gonna. How did you? Well, on the other side of her base, though, again looking in trouble because she's moving her forces around now. But Tunzel's commander
panicked.
looking very exposed. If I was Transsexual Empire, just push Tunzel's commander right now. Move all those troops, rush the commander, and just come in with your commander as well. And she's got an opportunity here to win, and if she doesn't win this, I think this is the game for her. But
It's going to be down
now,
to those Ubers. It's going to be absolutely down to those Ubers. First whiff, I would say, off of Tunsil. And the trade, the
Tunsil,
damage is huge!
Yeah, exactly. He's looking doomed. I think he's going down, and he is!
Oh my goodness,
Oh.
the comebacks!
Oh my goodness, what a comeback though, Transactional Empire. Literally down to what, 4% health.
4%.
4% doing a last stand, and I think we're going to see explode before the results come up as well. Yeah, there we go. Literally, as she wins, her commander's died. Wow, absolutely incredible. That was what a nail-biting finish that was there.
That was an incredible bait and switch almost.
I can't believe that Tunsil just got low around bushes with his commander, so he found himself incredibly exposed.
It was the tunnel vision. He went in, he thought, I need to kill her now. And he was right. There were the 6 metal extractors on the back. I think it was like 110 to like 78 or something like that at the end. Let's just back it up a little. 135 to 80 metal. So if Transactional Empire could have survived this, which as we saw she probably wouldn't, but if she could, economically she was absolutely ahead, and that would have won her the game.
Well, she was putting ahead in terms of troops as well. I feel though that again, there was another instance where she was leading economically, but her opponent was doing better with troop compositions. And I guess we're just seeing at this level of play that almost, I guess, the players are divided into two: the ones who go for the macro, and the ones who are going for, they're focusing more on troops composition, micro.
So it's micro versus macro.
Well, yes, there we go. You see. Next, we're going to start talking about natural expansions, and then we're really going to bring in all of the StarCraft 2 terminology.
Oh, perfect. Alright, so we had the Stalkers walking through the back doors, Reapers just going absolutely everywhere, killing off the 6 metal. I mean, it was an absolute wishy-washy backyard brawl. That I think I saw those 6 metal extractors honestly trade hands, I think, about 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, there was the expansion around the back of the planet was being swapped between the two players on an incredibly regular basis. Surprisingly, I'm not sure that Tunzel ever took the metal around the back of his base. He literally never expanded to it. And the Transactional Empire kept popping out to be raided, but he never even bothered to expand to it, which is a bit of a surprise decision. It feels like he's giving up some very easy to take metal there, perhaps because he was just so solely focused on these fights. Which then cost him because he didn't bring his reinforcements up well enough either to help his commander. But let's have a look at this escape for the Transactional Empire. Was this a slip up by Tunzel? Was there a chance here that he could have won and he misses the opportunity to just land the remaining shots?
Technically, this was his game to win. If we... Hang on, I want to move a little bit faster in my replay here. What ended up happening is what I love to just absolutely dub, it's building blocking, where if we get to... Alright, right here at 1641, we can see Transactional Empire's commander literally just shooting the building, and there's no damage being put down to Tunsil's units. She does fire the Uber, cleans up those tanks, but these Grenadiers are being, completely safe from her own building. And
I think there's a terrible decision that's made there. About 1656 backs up with the Grenadiers because the tanks have come in and so say the Grenadiers, but the Transactional Empire is on 4% health. I think that was a win. That was a win. If Tunzel had just pushed forward with the Grenadiers, it doesn't matter that he was going to lose them. I think they got enough shots to win that, and in the end, it cost him the game.
Forget the Grenadiers, going with the commander. I mean, the thing's full 100%, and I mean, obviously, I don't think he realized that there was quite literally a giant sea of purple ready to meet him on the other side here.
Yeah, he's got literally no vision in that base, no radar coming. Yeah. He can see what's going on with his army pushing him to the other side, but Transactional Empire has got her army just out of sight of the attacking forces. Very smart decision by her, though, I think, at the end there, to go for that. Basically realised it had to be an all-in commander, or she'd lost.
I wouldn't have liked to see her trying to sit there and trade with those Grenadiers, though. I think she could have stayed maybe a little bit healthier. Obviously, it probably would have played out maybe a little bit differently. It's a game of ifs there. But it'd been really nice to see her just kind of keep backing up, let those units come in, maybe even bait the commander closer. I mean, we saw Tunsil literally just chasing after a commander there inside of Transactional Empire's base. It clearly cost him.
Yeah, and I'm looking over the stats now, and it's an amazingly even game. Both players, when their economies were collapsing, they were collapsing relatively evenly together. Got a relatively even number of units running around together. They were really, really tight in their play, very, very close, and I think, yeah, a lot of it just came down to Little Army style. Transactional Empire slightly ahead in eco, slightly better army management from Tunzel, and the biggest difference I think just came down to the opening builds and how many bot factories there were.
I was gonna say, looking at the unit losses rate, I think this is the only summary where it's not fully. I mean, they do mimic each other quite closely, but I mean, you can notice that Transcription Empire is greatly ahead in just most of this. I mean, I see a lot of purple above the pink here. Everywhere else, it's identical. I mean, you just can't see anywhere else where, except for the unit destruction rate. There you go. We've got Tunsil noticeably higher than
Yeah, there was
than Transcription Empire. Excuse me.
Yeah, you can see that in each confrontation that Tunzel's coming out in the lead there. Transactional Empire's having to turn that slight eco advantage into rebuilding those losses. And as we saw at the end, Tunzel was just sort of grinding her down until he was able to just push right into the heart of her base, and she had to commit to that all in. But yeah, a hell of a closeout. I think that might be the best ending to a game that we've seen so far. That was really, really down to the wire.